Welcome to Ministry Now. I hope that you want to be ministered to. I hope you have a need. I hope you have something that God can put into you.
In a shocking turn of events, Doug Weiss, a prominent figure at Daystar, has undergone a dramatic transformation that raises serious concerns. What was once a confident and healthy leader has now become the subject of increasing speculation. His appearance, energy level, and demeanor have changed dramatically, and fans are beginning to wonder what is really going on. Is this transformation connected to deeper and more troubling issues? Stay tuned to find out the truth behind Doug Weiss's shocking fall. Doug Weiss's physical transformation has raised a lot of eyebrows over the past couple of years. Known for his impeccable physique, Doug had always been a picture of health and fitness. In fact, just a few years ago, he won a bodybuilding contest in Colorado in 2021. He looked energized, sharp, and in the best shape of his life. His body was well-toned, and his appearance reflected the hard work he put into maintaining his health. Many people admired his commitment to fitness, and his success in the bodybuilding world was a testament to his discipline. However, things have changed dramatically since his marriage to Joni Lamb. Doug's appearance now seems almost unrecognizable compared to the man he once was. His face has started to puff up noticeably, a stark contrast to his lean, defined look from just a few years ago. This transformation has left many people questioning what might be causing such a drastic change in his appearance. It's not just the puffiness. His overall physical condition seems to have deteriorated. Where he once exuded energy, now his demeanor and appearance seem less vibrant.
First, you know what we're going to do. You know what we're going to do. We're going to worship the Lord Jesus Christ as if He is the Son of the Most High God. Okay? Joni and the Daystar singers are really amped up to worship.
People have been speculating about the cause of this transformation. Some have suggested that Doug might be dealing with a medical condition that hasn't been disclosed to the public. Others wonder if his health is being affected by medication, especially given how quickly the changes have occurred. There's a noticeable difference in his eyes, too. They no longer have the same sharpness or brightness they once did. Instead, they appear dull and almost cloudy, which has led some to speculate that there might be an underlying health issue at play. Doug's physical changes have left many people concerned, not just for his well-being, but also about what might be going on behind the scenes. His transformation has been so drastic that it's hard to ignore, and it makes people question whether there's more to the story than what meets the eye. While it's normal for people to change over time, Doug's transformation seems to have happened rapidly and noticeably, making it difficult for people to understand what exactly is going on. His fans, colleagues, and family members alike are left wondering if there is an undisclosed health issue or another factor contributing to his sudden and startling physical changes. Over the past couple of years, Doug Weiss's health has become a growing topic of concern for many who have followed his journey, both personally and professionally. Doug, known for his fitness and bodybuilding achievements, used to be the picture of health. His dedication to maintaining a strong, lean physique had earned him respect and admiration in the fitness community. But in recent months, there has been a noticeable change in his appearance and overall condition, sparking questions about what's happening to him physically. Anyone who has followed Doug for years can tell something is off. He was once in such peak shape that he even won a bodybuilding competition in Colorado in 2021. At that time, he looked youthful, energized, and focused. He was a walking advertisement for health, vitality, and discipline. It wasn't just about the muscles, it was his energy, his clarity, and his well-being. People saw him as a model of what someone could achieve with the right lifestyle and mindset. But now things look very different. His once toned face has become puffy, and his features look softer and more bloated than they did in the past. It's hard to ignore the drastic change, especially when comparing his appearance now to just a few years ago. What's even more concerning is the way his eyes have changed. Where they were once sharp and bright, now they appear dull, almost cloudy, like the light in them has faded. These subtle but telling changes have caused a lot of people to wonder, what is going on with Doug's health? Some have speculated that Doug could be dealing with a health condition that hasn't been disclosed to the public. Rapid weight gain, puffiness in the face, and dull eyes can sometimes be signs of an underlying medical issue. Given how quickly these changes have occurred, it's understandable that people would be concerned. There are a number of potential conditions that could lead to such transformations, from issues related to the thyroid, kidney problems, or even side effects from medication. But without a clear statement from Doug or his team, these remain only speculations. The fact that Doug's health has become a point of discussion is somewhat surprising, given his previous image as a strong, health-conscious individual. He was the type of person who lived and breathed fitness, constantly promoting healthy habits to others. So when his appearance started changing, it raised a lot of eyebrows. People who had once admired him for his discipline and fitness were left wondering if there was something more going on behind the scenes that they weren't aware of. It's also worth noting that Doug's transformation comes at a time when his life has undergone significant personal changes. After marrying Joni Lamb, his public life has become even more visible, with his role at Daystar Network and his association with Joni thrusting him further into the spotlight. The pressure of such a high-profile relationship, along with his responsibilities in the public eye, could certainly take a toll on someone's health. Perhaps stress, both physical and emotional, is playing a role in his transformation. Stress can have a profound impact on the body, affecting everything from sleep patterns to metabolism. It's possible that Doug, like many people in high-pressure situations, is dealing with the effects of chronic stress. The physical manifestations of stress can sometimes look like weight gain, puffiness, and other changes in appearance. Whether it's due to his personal life, his professional responsibilities, or something else entirely, stress could be a contributing factor to his current condition. Another possibility is that Doug's health changes are related to his medication. Some medications can cause weight gain, puffiness, and changes in a person's physical appearance. Given Doug's past health and fitness background, it's not unreasonable to consider that he may have started taking medication for a medical condition, which could be affecting his appearance. However, this is purely speculative, as there has been no official word on his medical history or any potential treatments he may be undergoing. What's more concerning is the fact that Doug hasn't addressed these changes publicly. While his fans and followers have noticed the changes, Doug has not offered any explanation or insight into what might be causing his physical transformation. This silence only adds to the mystery and leaves people to wonder what is really going on behind the scenes. If there is a medical issue at play, it would be reassuring for his fans to hear directly from him, especially given the sudden and drastic changes that have occurred. As time goes on, it seems less likely that the public will get an official statement about Doug's health. With the spotlight on his relationship with Joni and his involvement in Daystar, it's possible that any health concerns will remain private. However, the longer Doug remains silent, the more the rumors and speculations will grow. People are naturally curious, and when they see someone they once admired changing so drastically, it's hard not to wonder what's happening. For many people, Doug Weiss represented strength, discipline, and health. He was someone they looked up to for guidance on fitness and personal growth. So, when his appearance started changing, it felt like a betrayal to the image he had cultivated for years. People are used to seeing Doug as the embodiment of physical excellence, and the contrast between his past self and the current version is striking. It's hard not to feel a sense of loss when the person you once admired seems to be unraveling before your eyes. As more time passes, and Doug continues to make public appearances, it's clear that his health and appearance will remain a topic of conversation. Whether or not Doug decides to address the situation directly is up to him. But the longer he stays silent, the more people will speculate about his health and what might be causing these changes. Ultimately, Doug's silence on the matter only fuels the growing questions about his well-being, leaving fans and followers to wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. Behind the scenes of Doug Weiss' rise to prominence and his new role in the Daystar Network, there's a growing tension that many are starting to notice. This tension isn't just between Doug and the people around him, but extends to the Lamb family and even the ministry itself. The shift from his former life as a fitness enthusiast to his current position as Joni Lamb's husband and a prominent figure in a major Christian network has not been without its complication. And while the public sees the polished image presented on screen, there's a much more complicated story brewing behind closed doors. For years, Doug had been an outsider to the Daystar family. He was a known figure in his own right, largely due to his background as a counselor and his work on issues surrounding addiction and relationships. His professional life had been built around offering advice to others about overcoming personal struggles, often focusing on topics like relationships and emotional health. His strong opinions on these subjects earned him a following, but it wasn't until his marriage to Joni Lamb that he truly entered the world of Christian media in a big way. When Doug married Joni, it seemed to many like a natural step for both of them. They were both leaders in their respective fields, and together they could be a formidable force in the Christian media world. But what many didn't anticipate was the growing friction that would develop behind the scenes, particularly within the Lamb family. Joni's children, especially her son Jonathan, seemed to have a hard time adjusting to Doug's new role in their lives. For many, it wasn't just about a new stepdad, it was about the rapid shift in the family dynamic and the apparent disregard for the legacy that Marcus Lamb had built over the years. The tension between Doug and the Lamb children became increasingly evident as time passed. Jonathan, who had been groomed to take over the leadership of Daystar after Marcus's passing, found himself sidelined in favor of Doug, who seemed to quickly take on a more prominent role. This move didn't sit well with Jonathan, and it created a rift between him and his mother. While Joni tried to keep everything smooth on the surface, it was clear that her decision to marry Doug was causing a division in the family. But the tension didn't stop there. Behind closed doors, there was growing speculation about the true nature of Doug's relationship with Joni. While the public saw them as a perfect couple, the reality was far more complicated. Joni's quick rebound after Marcus's death left many questioning whether her relationship with Doug had started before her husband's passing. Doug's quick rise to power at Daystar also raised eyebrows. Was it truly a natural progression, or was Doug taking advantage of the situation to further his own agenda? Adding to the confusion were the rumors of Doug's odd behavior. Former Daystar employees, particularly women, had expressed discomfort around him, noting that he often acted inappropriately. His past, which included a history of counseling around sexual issues, seemed to clash with the image that Daystar had worked so hard to build. A family-friendly network focused on wholesome values, and this led to growing discomfort among those who had once admired Doug for his professional background, but were now questioning his motives and actions. Joni, too, began to change. Once the picture of grace and poise, her relationship with Doug seemed to take a toll on her. She became increasingly defensive about their marriage and her decision to marry Doug so soon after Marcus's death. She would brush off any concerns, insisting that people needed to trust her judgment. But the more she pushed back against the growing speculation, the more it seemed that something wasn't right. People began to question whether Joni was truly as confident in her decision as she claimed to be, or if there was more to the story. For those who had been close to the Lamb family, the changes were hard to ignore. The Lambs, once the epitome of Christian unity, were now a fractured family. The tight-knit group that had built Daystar into one of the largest Christian networks in the world seemed to be unraveling before the public's eyes. The once strong relationships between family members were now strained, with some feeling that Joni had chosen to prioritize her personal life over her family's unity. This behind-the-scenes tension wasn't just about family drama. It was also about the future of Daystar. With Marcus's passing, the network had lost its patriarch, and Joni's leadership was now under intense scrutiny. Many wondered whether her decisions were based on what was best for the network or what was best for her new marriage. Was Doug's sudden prominence in the network a natural fit, or was it the result of Joni's desire to have her new husband take center stage? As the months went by, the speculation continued to grow. What was really going on between Joni and Doug? How much influence was Doug having over the direction of Daystar? And perhaps most importantly, what was happening within the Lamb family? The once rock-solid foundation of Daystar was now cracking, and no one seemed to have the answers. The fallout from all of this would have far-reaching consequences for Daystar. As the family struggled with internal strife, the network's viewers began to question the integrity of the leadership. How could they trust a ministry that seemed so divided? How could they continue to support a network that was now so clearly in turmoil? These were difficult questions, and the answers seemed to be few and far between. Ultimately, the tension behind the scenes at Daystar is a reflection of a larger issue within the Christian media world. The line between personal and professional lives is often blurred, and when that happens, it can lead to serious consequences. In this case, the Lamb family's internal struggles have spilled over into the public eye, leaving many people unsure of where they stand. As the story continues to unfold, it's clear that the tension and speculation surrounding Doug Weiss, Joni Lamb, and the rest of the family will only grow. Whether or not they can overcome their differences and repair the damage done to their relationships and their ministry remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the fallout from these events will continue to affect the future of Daystar and the legacy of the Lamb family for years to come. The changes Doug Weiss has undergone since marrying Joni Lamb have not only affected his personal life, but have rippled throughout the Daystar network and the Lamb family. When Doug entered the picture, few could have predicted how much of an impact he would have on both the ministry and his new family. What started as a seemingly innocent relationship between a widow and a man with a background in counseling quickly turned into a larger story of family drama. tensions, and a shift in the leadership of Daystar. Daystar was once the shining example of a successful Christian ministry. Built by Marcus Lamb, the network grew into one of the largest Christian TV channels in the world, reaching millions of viewers with its faith-based content. Marcus and Joni, the faces of the network, were admired not just for their work but for their commitment to each other and their faith. They had built Daystar on a foundation of strong Christian values, unity, and love. It was a picture-perfect family and ministry. But with Marcus's unexpected death, everything changed. Joni, suddenly left to lead the network on her own, was faced with immense pressure. The transition from being a supportive partner to being the sole leader of Daystar was never going to be easy. But the addition of Doug Weiss into her life soon after Marcus's passing complicated things even further. As Joni moved on quickly with Doug, people began to question whether her actions were driven by genuine love or if there were other motives at play. For many, Doug's entry into the family seemed too quick, especially given the circumstances. Joni's decision to marry Doug just months after Marcus's death raised eyebrows, and it wasn't long before rumors started to swirl. Some believed that Doug's presence in the family, both personally and professionally, was a factor in the growing divide between Joni and her children, particularly her son Jonathan. Doug, who had been a family friend and business associate, now had a much more prominent role in Daystar, which left many wondering whether his influence was a natural progression or if Joni was pushing her family aside to make room for her new husband. Behind closed doors, tensions were growing. Jonathan, who had long been groomed to take over Daystar's leadership, found himself increasingly sidelined. He was being pushed out in favor of Doug, and that didn't sit well with him. Jonathan had been working alongside Marcus for years, learning the ins and outs of the ministry, and now, after his father's sudden passing, he was being ignored. His relationship with Joni grew strained as he watched his mother give more control to Doug, who had only recently entered the family. Jonathan's resentment was clear, and it wasn't long before the rift between mother and son became public. Doug's physical and emotional transformation was also becoming noticeable. His appearance, once fit and healthy, started to change. His face became puffy, his energy seemed off, and his demeanor grew more distant. For those who had known Doug for years, this change was troubling. Some speculated that he might be dealing with health problems or medication, but no one knew for sure. It was clear, however, that Doug was not the same man who had once won bodybuilding competitions and appeared full of energy and vitality. What made the situation even more complex was the role Doug began to take within Daystar. Once a behind-the-scenes figure, Doug was now thrust into the spotlight, leading shows, speaking at events, and playing a more prominent role in the ministry. His rise to power, however, was not without its critics. Many people who had worked with Doug in the past, particularly women, expressed discomfort around him. There were accusations of inappropriate behavior, and some even described him as creepy. His background as a sex therapist and his strong opinions on relationships raised concerns for those who felt that his approach didn't align with the values Daystar had built its reputation on. Joni, however, seemed blind to the growing concerns. She defended Doug and their marriage, insisting that he was a man of God who was helping her grow spiritually. She claimed that Doug's leadership and his personal devotion to her and to the ministry were exactly what she needed in her life. She praised him for his commitment to reading the Bible with her every day, and for his ability to help her spiritually in ways that Marcus never did. But this only added fuel to the fire. For many, it wasn't just about Doug's presence in her life. It was about the speed with which Joni had moved on from Marcus's death and the changes she had made within the family and the ministry. As Doug's influence in the Lamb family grew, it became clear that things were not as they appeared. Joni's decision to marry Doug and place him in a position of power at Daystar left many questioning her priorities. Was she truly focused on continuing the legacy of Marcus, or was she more concerned with her own personal happiness and the advancement of her new relationship? The once unified family was now divided, and the ministry that Marcus had worked so hard to build was beginning to show cracks. The public image of Daystar, once synonymous with Christian values and unity, was starting to crumble. Viewers began to notice the tension between Joni and her children, especially Jonathan. The family's internal struggles were now visible to millions of people, and many wondered how the ministry would survive. Could Joni lead Daystar without the support of her family? Would Doug's growing influence continue to overshadow the legacy of Marcus? And most importantly, would the Lamb family ever be able to heal the rift that had formed between them? The impact of Doug's changes on Daystar and the Lamb family is undeniable. What was once a thriving, unified ministry is now a fractured organization, torn apart by family drama, personal decisions, and a changing vision for the future. Doug's rise to prominence has had far-reaching consequences, not just for Joni and her children, but for the future of Daystar itself. As the Lamb family continues to struggle with internal tension, it remains to be seen whether they can overcome the damage caused by Doug's presence and rebuild their ministry. The questions surrounding Doug's influence, his personal transformation, and his role in the family's future are ones that will continue to linger, and only time will tell what the lasting effects will be.